Hello, everybody. This is Frank with Iron Age News. It's the South Florida Conservative News Center, and it is Thursday, June 19th, around 1300 hours. We're going to talk about one of the issues that is occurring around the Israel-Iranian war, which is the disposition of the Iranian forces and the mindset of its leadership. Excuse me. So, basically, right now, as you can tell, and they show you on every channel that's out there, the world is watching the Islamic Republic of Iran. Not with awe, they're not afraid, but with a growing sense that the end game is near. The regime teeters upon economic ruin, political isolation, and military humiliation. Watch the videos. Yet, the man at the top, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, refuses to back down. And why, you may ask? And we'll talk about that. Today, we're going to explore what happens if Iran falls, who stands to gain, and why surrender is not an option for the supreme leader. I'm sure you haven't heard that before, right? But it's actually a truism, and we're going to go into a little bit of discussion as to why that is as soon as this thing works correctly. Okay, to understand the stakes, you need to understand the system. Iran isn't just run by a government, it's ruled by a doctrine. At the heart of this system is Wilayat al-Faqih, okay, the guardianship of the jurist, a theological frameship, a framing of a theological work that gives Ayatollah Khamenei supreme, near divine, seriously, near divine authority over the state, the military, and the people. This was imposed under the original Ayatollah Khomeini when he took the country back in the 70s or early 80s. I forget exactly the date. Don't tucker me. I don't have the date in front of me. In this system, compromise is not a strategy, it's a heresy. A good part of the system they were involved in was stolen directly from the standard usages of Islamic warfare. You can get that right here in this book. It's short and it explains everything that you need to know about Arab warfare by Harold Rode. You can get it on Amazon. You can get it used on Abe Books if you want, whatever the case is. So, in this system, compromise is not strategy, it's heresy. There are things you can do that are not compromise. You can be losing. In Islamic warfare, you can lose miserably. But if you say you won or you say you did it to come back later on and do something, then everything is fine. Just bear with me. You're not dealing with the same mindset that you're dealing with in the West, and that has been the problem with us every time we've dealt with these people. Okay, even with the Israelis. I know when this goes on to the YouTube, the Jew haters will come out of the woodwork and blame everything without watching anything we're talking about, but tamp it down a bit. Get more like the BitChute people. Hate your Jews, but on your own time, okay? So if Khamenei is seen as surrendering to Western pressure, or worse, if he loses to Israel, it's not just a political defeat. It would mean he failed God's mandate. His authority, his legacy, and his religion would all implode in one stroke. If you look back at the time when Egypt made friends with Israel, they killed the president of Egypt. Even though Egypt was a smart move to do, they killed the president of Egypt because it was so horrific to the people that the Jews beat them, or the Israelis beat them, whatever you want to call them these days, right? So I'll say since 1979, Iran has positioned itself not just as a nation, but as a movement, the true leader of the Islamic world. This was done by Ayatollah Khamenei because that was his whole thing, this whole Islamic jurist deal. This is him. This was his flashback, punching above his weight against all the secular Islamic countries that were out there at that time. Okay. So they consider themselves the true leader of the Islamic world. It funds Hezbollah in Lebanon, Hamas in Gaza, Shia militants in Iraq and Syria. It has possibly, depending on who you listen to, 500,000 potential paid contract terrorists outside of that region, willing to get on board and do some killing for the cause if the prices are right. Okay. It preaches resistance, martyrdom, and endless struggle against Zionism and American imperialism. It is all written in a book. When people lie to you, which people like to lie to people these days, it is in a book of the name that we discussed. Or you could look it up online. It used to be under like the Ayatollah's Mein Kampf or something like that, because he put this together before he usurped the power of the Shah. Okay. So here's the problem. Okay. If Iran is decisively defeated, especially by Israel, which look around, the entire ideological architecture collapses. The title of leader of the Muslim world goes back to where it began, and that's in Saudi Arabia. For all you conspiracy people out there, who is Donald Trump hang out with a lot? So there you have that, right? Now you know. But prior to this, Saudi Arabia, since it has Mecca and Medina, controlled the religious sites of Islam. The Al-Aqsa thing, honestly, as they say, some people still say, and I believe it was a falsism. It was just put in there to give a little extra oomph to the terror, because not really where the prophet was involved in anything. So we'll talk about that another day. All right. So who stands to gain if the Islamic Republic finally crumbles? Okay, number one, Israel, right? The people you love to hate. Iran is Israel's most implacable enemy. They are nuclear ambitious, they are proxy backed, and ideologically committed to its destruction. Regime collapse would mean no more nuclear games, no more Hezbollah arms convoys, and no more threats from Damascus or Beirut. Gaza would start to dissolve into just a bunch of angry guys who don't like to go to work, because without the money from Iran, no guns, no bombs, right? So, number two, the United States, for decades, and you people all should remember, you're not all 3 years old, Iran has been the world's biggest state sponsor of terrorism. They have bombed U.S. embassies. They have killed soldiers in Iraq through IEDs, and they back every anti-American cause from Venezuela to Yemen. If you recall, just last year, we did an article. They had caught a head of the Quds Force in Colombia trying to hire hitmen to kill American business people in Colombia and then into Miami. So does this sound like a bunch of peace-loving guys to you? Depends where you go to school, right? A post-Khomeini Iran could the end of the nuclear standoff and a huge win for U.S. deterrence. That's why you constantly hear President Trump, but he's been on that kick for 20 years. So those of you who don't have any brains, this is not a new thing with him. He does not want anybody to have nuclear weapons other than the ones that already have them. And he doesn't even want them to have them. Oh, and by the way, he did stop a nuclear war between India and Pakistan. You can thank him later, right? Number three, Saudi Arabia. If Iran is disgraced, Riyadh ascends. As the guardian of Mecca and Medina, as we said, Saudi Arabia once again claims religious leadership of the Islamic world. Sunni dominance would be restored. The Shia crescent is over. Okay. And here's the kicker of this. With Iran gone, Saudi Arabia could finally normalize ties with Israel through the Abraham Accords, as well as everybody else forming that economic and social zone over there. And that would include all of those people, except for, the old friends of Iran, if they're still left, like the Yemenis. The Qataris have to get on board yet, but if they see what happens to Iran, I don't expect a whole lot of fight out of them. So this would normalize relations in the Middle East and give us Pax Arabica, or whatever you want to call it, probably for at least 20 years, unless somebody else stirs them up. So 20 years without war in the Middle East would be nice. Okay, but before we celebrate, you have to understand this. The Iranians' collapse won't be a clean break. It will be a vacuum. A country of 88 million people. I got the number here because now we know we don't want to get tuckered, as we say. Fractured along ethnic, sectarian, and tribal lines with armed militias. They're already in existence. Revolutionary Guards. We're not going to be able to get all of them. Consider the Revolutionary Guards to be doing the old SS trick and going to wherever Muslim Uruguay is, right? And the nuclear facilities are all suddenly untethered. That's not peace, that is chaos. The big move on the ground, which is what will occur at some point and will have nothing to do with the United States, will be the seizure or destruction of the nuclear test facilities. I believe they want to get in and give you a good tour of them before they destroy them, just so everybody will shut up that says there is no nuclear test facility and there is no nuclear enriching program going on. So you have refugees now that are starting to get ready to flood into neighboring countries. Pakistan has a Shia minority, so there's going to be some issues there if they can't get back into the country quickly. It could spiral into sectarian conflict. And you have everyone's favorite rivals, the Chinese and Russians, won't just sit back. They'd move in probably hard to protect their assets and to fill that void. So, you know, we're in a situation there. All of this brings you back to the Ayatollah Khamenei, right? He cannot surrender, not because of pride, not because of strategy, but because his very system is built on divine legitimacy. Victory is framed as God's will. I talk like this so you listen. Defeat means God has rejected him. And if that happens, everything, the Islamic Republic, the revolution itself, the IRGC, the clerical elite, the theology of resistance dies with him. So that's why even as Iran crumbles, Khamenei doubles down, because for him, martyrdom isn't failure, it's fulfillment. You have to understand these people with this martyrdom thing, okay? Even though he has failed, if he does it the right way, he has succeeded, okay? A beaten Iran would reset the entire Middle East. It would empower Israel, would vindicate U.S. policy, and return Saudi Arabia to the throne of Islamic leadership, as I've said. But it would also trigger aftershocks far beyond Tehran, across the Arab world, Central Asia, and maybe even within the global order itself, right? This isn't the end of the regime. It's a potential beginning of a new and dangerous, uncertain era, because nobody's ever gone this, I hate to say, nobody's ever gone this far before. If you talk to anybody who was involved in this operation, you will know that this operation that the Israelis have launched against Iran has been 19 years in the making. The reason that it was so in detailed and precise and this and that and the other thing is they have been working and reworking this plan for 19 years, waiting for the day when they'd have to use it. Okay. So that's what you have going on there. The beaten, as I said, that is the biggest problem that we're going to have if it goes that way. All right. Trump has given them any number of chances to do what he wants. The problem that we have, again, as Westerners, is Donald Trump has said to them that I want total surrender. Okay. By doing that, also means that the Iranians can't accept it, because that would mean they have lost to the infidels. Also brings upon around the destruction of the belief system and makes them look like fools in front of the rest of the Arab countries. He thinks of it one way, they think of it another. There's not much you can do because of the wealth of misunderstanding between the two places. So we're going to have to make the best of it that we can. The smart move, of course, is going to be that the United States does not go out and get the Pahlavi guy which is the Shah's son. We don't touch anybody. They come out and do similar to what they did in Syria, which is they're going to have their own elections. They're going to have to do all that stuff themselves, and we have to stand back. As long as the nuclear weapons are out of the picture and the nuclear development is out of the picture, the United States has absolutely no mandate to be there. Now, the people that are out there now complaining about shit are the same people that put us into Afghanistan and Iraq, and also would like this to go into a war because it would derail the president's policies of fixing up the United States. So he's probably, when you have the famous man in the black suit, is going to say either you can have a chance to clean up America to an extent, but we're not going to keep letting you steal our money, or you can deal with the Iranians. Which do you want to do? Right? You can't have both. Now, Trump, who has been, almost assassinated a couple times, has to realize at this point he's pushing his luck. So if somebody wants these idiots to stay in power, because it's continually a knife at the throat of the Israelis, I don't understand the importance of that. It is beyond anything that I can look at militarily or, economically. It doesn't make sense. It's just this pathological Jew hate thing, and there's not much you can do about it unless you're going to stamp them all out, right? So that's what we have. We have to make sure that if they do whatever the president does is not going to bring upon a whole bunch of other nonsense. Basically, it would be the reverse of occupation. We'd have to seal the borders to let the people on the inside percolate and get themselves straightened out. The other Arab countries would have to step in there, which I know the Trump administration is fine with. They've already done the first one or two little taste steps, right? With the Saudi Arabians, with Syria, okay? So Syria, so far, granted, there are probably people killing people that aren't supposed to be killed, but overall, it hasn't turned into a total slaughterhouse as of yet. They'll get this together, get some provisional government. Maybe they go back to exactly the way it was before the Muslim clergy takeover. The big difference here was they had inserted the clergy in charge of everything. The clergy over there is in charge of everything, very much in a socialist manner as a commissariat and then your Politburo. You look at it that way if you understand how they do it. The same way they would like to institute it here in the United States if given the chance, except they would be socialists instead of Islamo-fascists. So that's what we have for you, okay? Any other questions, feel free to contact us. We're everywhere. We're trying to be everywhere. But I would suggest The Modern Islamic Warfare by Harold Rode. I don't think it's on I don't know if it's on a Audible or not, but having met Harold Rode a few times, having heard his talks, following this and cross-referencing it with actual documents, this is the hardest, fastest understanding of how they fight and what they think about when they're fighting. So that's all we have. Have a good day, and we'll see you soon. Bye.